Good morning, everyone. GM. Welcome to the first ever Decentraland Community Summit. We're so excited to have you here. Woo! I'm Kim. I am the head of partnerships and marketing here at the foundation, and it is a tremendous honor to welcome each of you to the heart of Decentraland, right here in Buenos Aires, where it all began as an idea way back in 2015. Thank you for making the journey here. Some of you from across continents, flying over oceans, representing 22 different countries. Your commitment to travel such great distances underscores the strength and unity of this Decentraland community. This week is a celebration of the dedication that each of you bring each day. It's a chance to forge in-person connections that transcend your digital identities and interactions, to collaborate face-to-face, to uncover new insights for the future. Your presence here is a testament to the value we all place on being together as one, learning from each other, pushing the boundaries of what we can achieve in Decentraland. We have an exciting agenda ahead, 3 full days packed with opportunities for personal and collective growth. This week we invite you, engage fully in thoughtful discussions, contribute all of your unique perspectives that you're bringing from our global community, and enjoy the rich cultural and culinary delights here in Buenos Aires. As we reflect on the journey and the milestones we've all reached together, let us look forward with anticipation to the new memories that we're going to create and the innovations that come from this collaboration all week. Let's make this a landmark event in our shared history, celebrating all that we've accomplished and paving the way for the future achievements. We thank you once again for your time, your energy, your dedication to this community. We're going to make every moment of this week count. So to enhance your experience at the summit, you've each received a personalized badge. Purple for community, red for foundation. Mingle, get to know one another. Feel free to personalize your badge. Are you representing yourself? Are you a wearable creator? What country did you come from? Whatever it is to make those conversations flow really easily. This will help us all get to know one another and enrich these interactions over the next 3 days. On the back of your badge, you have our detailed schedule. Really easy to have it handy. Where am I supposed to be next? But also just follow the crowd. We got you. And while it may seem packed at first glance, we've definitely carved out time for networking, socializing, and enjoying some fantastic meals together, and of course, a Decentraland party. So a quick overview of what's to come. Day 1 today, presentations, getting to know each other. Day 2, workshops, celebrations, and day 3 is collaboration through the Build-a-thon. This Build-a-thon, we will be sharing a sign-up list in the Discord group. If anyone is not in the Discord group yet, find one of us in the orange shirts. We can help make sure you get in. This is a private group for this community where we'll be sharing more updates throughout the week. For our Build-a-thon, this is meant to be collaborative, not competitive. Let's have fun building together. The theme for this Build-a-thon is Cultural Odyssey. We've all come to the summit from different places around the world, representing variable collective passions. Together with your team of 4 to 6 people, build a scene that embodies a place or experience or interest that is unique to you or where you all collectively come from. We're going to make Summit City a colorful patchwork of experiences that expand time and place. Use your imagination, get a team of new people that maybe you haven't worked with together, and just have a good time. That'll be day 3, lots more to come, but start thinking about it and meeting people to create your team. The link will be in Discord today. A few really quick logistical reminders so that everyone can have the best time but also stay safe. There are stickers you can add to your badge with the camera, with the line through it, no camera, no photos. Some people here want to remain docs. Let's all respect that decision. So if someone has no camera on there, be sure to not post anything about their identity. Non-emergency, if you need anything, dclsummit@decentraland.org or the Discord channel. Urgent needs, if anyone wants to take a picture of this screen, if this phone number, this Telegram account, you'll contact Diego and he can help you out. All right, the bathrooms are behind you. I was told to tell you that too, if anyone needs. Okay, today you're gonna meet many members of the foundation team, and while we are the ones presenting, there are many other foundation members who are working hard every day behind the scenes too. So we wanna make sure we take the time to thank everyone for their contributions, whether they're here, watching on our live stream, hello live stream, or back at work. We are all here to celebrate and build from one another. And without further ado, I am very excited to introduce Yemel Jardi, the Executive Director of the Foundation.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad to be here. I think this part of the summit is to tell you about the story of Decentraland, how we started. So we were, I think, 4 masterminds that were thinking about Decentraland for a long time. We have a picture there, Esteban, Ari, Manu Arauz with the yellow avatar, and myself. Manu is very conscious about his image online, so you will see his face in that way during the presentation. So we started with Decentraland around 2015. That's when we started talking about how to make a new use case of blockchain to secure digital. So let's talk about the origins. I'm a software engineer. I study in the same university as Manu and Esteban. And I started working here in Buenos Aires, Argentina, at local companies, startups. And by 2013, I got into Bitcoin. And I think Bitcoin really blew my mind when we wrote the white paper, because they bring a solution that for us Argentinians makes total sense. Maybe if you live in the United States, you don't have any problems making a payment or doing an international wire. But here in Argentina, we have so many capital controls. It's not easy to move money around the world. It's not easy to get a job internationally and get paid. In that sense, we really understand the need for having an independent coin and independent store of value. That is also native to the internet, that has no middleman. And also, we have saw how the institutions here in Argentina have failed us many times. If you talk with any Argentinian about 2001, you can hear the story of one day going to your bank and not being able to access all of your money, and being limited to take only $100 in the ATM per day. And that happens when I was a kid, so I grew up believing that institutions are things not to trust. And when I hear about Bitcoin and being an engineer, understanding that this is revolutionary, this is totally new, this is a piece of technology that has the potential to change the world. And I wanted to work there. I wanted to work in the industry, and decided to make a bet, not only economically, because I didn't have too much money at that time, but make an investment with my career, with my time, with my profession. So in 2000, I started working for an American company called BitPay. It's a payment processor. And with Manu and Esteban, we formed the Buenos Aires team, building open source. For me, that was the first time working in English, working remotely, and building open source software. creating tools for making transactions in the Bitcoin network and getting feedback from community all around the world, using these tools to make their projects, their startups, their applications. With that library and tools, Bitcoin wallets were created, indexers, and so many other applications. Yeah, that was a new world for me. And we worked remotely at maybe the first 8 months, a year. And then we decided to set up an office. And in that office is a house that is actually a few blocks away from here. Maybe you can check it out during your stay. It's a small passage of 2 blocks called Voltaire, which give name to the house. And at the beginning, we were 4 people, the 3 of us, plus Mariano, a designer who joins the team. But soon after, we started inviting other people, friends mostly, that share also this interest about technology, startups, and crypto. And eventually, we stopped working at BitPay at different times, but we keep the house and continue with this. Oh, this is moving. Sorry. I'm having issues with the presentation there. So we have this is a picture of the crew. I'm right down. We have Ari as well. And yeah, we started being 4, then 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14. Eventually we rent another place, we overflow to another house and keep growing. And I think, let me share you some pictures of the house. It was really small, but we have enough capacity to have 14 people working. It has 2 floors. The top floor has like a big co-working space, big whiteboard. We have many art pieces. Those came from Delucius, a very good friend, an artist who is actually present here. Thank you so much. And these are the different art pieces. We have a Benjamin Franklin that has on the forehead the equation of Bitcoin. That's a nice one. Also another one about 2 Egypt people making a trade. Another big mural. I think really make a change on how the vibe of the house. This is a 3D scan of the house. We don't have it anymore. It was rented. On the ground floor, we have a small kitchen, a dining room, and 2 offices, and a small garden. Next slide, please. That's the top floor. And here's some pictures of us sharing in the co-working area or one of the offices. And I think that there is one situation that I can remark about this experience. It was like 4 years of working in this space. And one thing that I really value is the space for lunch. Like, we all work at different startups, different projects, but we share the space. And lunchtime was the time in which we share our ideas, share our insights, any findings, or debating about philosophical themes, the ethics of AI, and many, many things. And during those conversations, sometimes an idea stuck in our mind. And we continue talking about that, like, every day, every week. And when we get tired about ourselves of talking, we said, okay, let's do a hackathon. Let's take a week and let's build this. And based in that initiative, I think like many projects saw the light. I think since we're all professionals, we know how to build software, and also launch it publicly. We were not only engineers, we have designers, industrial engineers, business-oriented people as well. So we started with the idea, what's the communication, what's the blog post, what's the prototype, let's build it, and we launch it. And with that workflow, we created, I think, many projects that eventually hit the lines of Hacker News, Product Hunt, and we start receiving mails from venture capitals asking for, like, hey, we want to meet you, are you looking for investment? And time to time, that was the point in which we said, like, maybe there is a company here. Who wants to jump on board? That happened many times, and not everyone was looking to build a company when we engaged on this. We're actually engaging on making a prototype of an idea, showing the world that it was possible, making a point and a statement. Building a company is a different kind of commitment, like 1 week versus 4 years. But well, Decentraland was one of those ideas. We can mention many more. This house was the origin of Open Zeppelin. Maybe if you know what a smart contract is and you code it, probably you use Open Zeppelin libraries. Also, if you code a smart contract, maybe you use Hard Hat, which is also a very well tool set for compiling smart contracts and debugging and testing. There is also a Bitcoin wallet called Moon, which is awesome. They support Lightning Network payments from the early beginnings, and they have been growing year after year. And of course, Decentraland, that's the project that brings us today here. So let's talk about the first prototype. That was accomplished by Manu and Esteban. So the conversation was, if we can have blockchain used to store the ownership of Bitcoins, can we use blockchain to store the ownership of any other digital asset? Wouldn't that be great? At that time, NFTs was not a concept. And we said, okay, maybe we can do like a representation of land in a 2D world. So you have a pixel grid. This was 2015, by the way. Can we go forward? There. So this was the idea. Make a 2D pixel grid. That this was web-based, peer-to-peer protocol. So you connected with your browser, and your browser connects to any other browser that is connected to the same website at the same time, and they share the state of the world. And your browser starts mining for pieces of land around the center. And you can only mine land that is adjacent to already existing land. And if you are the owner of the land, you are the only one allowed to define what's the color of your land. This was like a small blockchain that was replicated only in like ephemeral time, only when the people are connected, that world is created. And that was a tweet, 1 week of work. Yeah, and it got people really excited. It was a proof that blockchain technology can be used for another stuff, and eventually we can see other digital assets stored in the blockchain. Again, this was in 2015. That's when the Facebook account, GitHub organization were created. Most of the domain was registered in 2015. And that was the first prototype. Let's go to the second prototype. So the Decentraland project stayed there as an idea, as a first prototype for a year. We continue working in our projects, our companies, and 1 year later, we have the opportunity to travel to an amazing place in the world. Maybe you already know this place. Can you recognize it? That's Burning Man, yeah. For those who don't know it, it's a festival that is hosted in Nevada, in the United States. 80,000 people gather for a week. There is a city that is well designed. And everything that happens during that event is created by the participants. There is a major organization about getting the place, designing the city, making sure some public like bathrooms and that kind of stuff. But after that, like there is no lineup, no like big. It's not a big festival that is organized by like a centralized organization. It's what people make it about. We were totally mind blown, not only about the scale of it, but also what the creativity of humanity can become if we put it in the right conditions. So this user-generated festival was like an inspiration for us to come back and say, like, when we were talking about Decentraland, this was what we were talking about. Like, if we can make a space in which people can show their creativity and we can all explore it online, that has the potential to be something great. So we come back with this idea and decided to do the second prototype, now a 3D experience. Can we? So this is a picture of the second prototype. You can see it was a cake deployed by a user, random user online called HP. Maybe you know him. So technically this was a little bit different. Now we took a Bitcoin node, like the open source implementation of Bitcoin. We fork it, so make a copy of it, and make one change. In the definition of the Bitcoin transaction, we remove the value, which is that denominates the amount of Bitcoin you are transferring, and we switch it for an XY that defines the position of the item that you are transferring, and also a content description hash, that's the thing that you use to then download the content from BitTorrent. And that was it. I was in charge of designing the implementation of the Explorer in Unity that downloads the content and renders the world. It was like 1 or 2 weeks of implementing all this, documenting the repositories, putting a blog post out there, and making a few events to showcase the world what was happening. We have, again, Delucius making an art exhibition in Decentraland. Can we go to the next slide? Here we can see other Delucius art pieces. And well, moving forward, something really great happened at the beginning on 2017. The prototype we launched on December of 2016. Early 2017, a YouTuber from the UK called Node saw our article, saw the GitHub, and he said, like, this is amazing, let's make a video. He has a big following, always chasing about the latest tech, edgy new technology out there, and we were perfect for his audience. And he made a video explaining Decentraland way better than we can do it. Totally. And I think that was the first step in which Decentraland started going totally beyond ourselves. Like, it really, nowadays, Decentraland totally transcends the founders and the early contributors that now Decentraland is owned by all the community. But I think this was the first external contributor that make a huge leap in Decentraland. And that day, we started receiving, we have an open Slack that open for anyone who wants to contribute. That was only 4 of us. And one day, we started receiving 1, 2, 10, 100 people in a few hours saying, like, this is amazing, and we want to be part. We saw the video, and we were like, what video? And that was the point in which we said, like, okay, maybe there is a chance this project becomes a company, something bigger than us. And I think that took us to the next stage of the project, the funding. that was the difference between being a hackathon project with a nice followee to becoming something serious that we can spend many, many years. I'm talking about things that happened 9 years ago, and here we are, and we have still a bright future of funding for many years more. And how that happened? Well, at that point, we were many contributors to Decentraland, like all the Voltaire House joined on the early prototypes, helping with different parts. But if we're going to get funding, we needed to have the founders, of course. We cannot all be part of this. Also, we have our own commitments, other companies, our projects. And the two heroes that stepped forward were Ari and Esteban. And they engaged in a mission of getting funding for Decentraland. And we knew that crypto and funding through crypto was an option, getting more and more adoption on 2017. So a white paper was written explaining what's the concept of Decentraland. I think there are a few layers that define what Decentraland is. The last part is the consensus layer. That's the smart contracts. That's the most critical part of information that needs to be on the blockchain. Then a content distribution layer. That's the catalyst where we deploy the content. And it's important that content is replicated. So there is not only one company that has all the content of Decentraland, and also backing all the NFTs and things that are minted. And finally, a real-time layer that connects peers and makes a 3D immersive experience. You know, the second prototype we built, it was single player. You cannot see other people. So I think that's the next milestone, migrating everything to the Ethereum network, redefining the project to run on Ethereum. Otherwise, we would have to have our own blockchain. It was a nonsense at that point. And yeah, that was the starting of an adventure. Ari and Esteban got into many planes, going from New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, going to Asia. And I remember, I think, 2 weeks in which they took like 11 planes in the roadshow. And finally, in 2017, Mana was created. The project got funding, and a new chapter for Decentraland began. So that was August in 2017. And now the team needed to build an organization. They need to hire people. They need to come up with a Decentraland Explorer, an experience that everyone can use and start creating. And in this process, it took many years. The public launch eventually was on 2020, so around 3 years of heavy work and development. I think one of the first things was designing the city. Also, many people participated in this process. Priscilla, who is here, also contributed in this stage. Then, once the city was designed, there was a process of what we call the terraforming, the creation of the city, assigning owners to each of those parcels. So there was a stage in which you can contribute your mana to participate in the first land auction of Decentraland. You can also contribute land to districts. If you were wondering how districts happened and came to be, this was the time in which you could contribute districts, mana to districts. So once you have your mana staked in the auction process, when the auction started, you could start selecting the parcels and making a bid. That process lasts for a couple of weeks. and if someone outbid you, the bidding process extended for a couple of more days so that push can continue. Eventually, all the bids stopped, and we had the first formation of Decentraland City. This is a heat chart that you can see, like on red, the different bids, and there are some more hot areas than others, and the areas that are totally black are districts or plazas. So the next step, now that we have a smart contract for land, we have Genesis City created, the next step was developing the first marketplace to start trading this land. At that point, you cannot join the land and explore it. You cannot create on your land. You can only own it and transfer it and sell it on the marketplace. But people wrote the white paper, they understood the project, and that was all they can experience at the time. Next, the team developed a builder, a web version that lets you easily drag and drop and start creating assets. I think a few of you joined Decentraland by this time, when you can start creating your little piece of land. And then we got the avatars, and we have names, so you can register your own name for your avatar, and also tie it to your land. And finally, on March 20 from 2020, Decentraland opened their doors to the masses. And I think that was a big accomplishment. Many of you maybe were part of the early betas. You could see how the team developed the Decentraland Explorer many times. I think 3 iterations of the Explorer were designed during this period before the public launch. The SDK, now we are in SDK 7. That means that there was a 6, a 5, a 4, a 3, and the first. And yeah, finally, 2020, we opened the doors. Also, 2020 was an important point for the structure of Decentraland. The early company that built all this prototype also transformed itself into Decentraland Foundation. The nowadays Decentraland Foundation was created in 2020. And also the smart contracts of the Decentraland DAO were created in 2020. The vesting contracts to fund foundation and the DAO were deployed on 2020, and setting up the stage for this new chapter for Decentraland. A more decentralized one. That was the idea. And then we started having some rapid growth. This is a GIF of a time lapse of how Genesis City started growing, and hopefully will continue growing. And this is the Decentraland we all know. At this time, we had also a change of leadership. Ari went to another project. Esteban, also very tired of like a long journey of developing Decentraland, decided to bring a new leader to Foundation to lead this new chapter with new energy. That was when Augusto Ferreira, also present here, decided to step in and take the lead on fantastic years of Decentraland. And this was the pictures of the first event hosted in Decentraland, a Halloween with many quests. Also, first wearables were issued. At that time, wearables were layer 1, minted on Ethereum. We have a marketplace to trade those wearables, also in Ethereum network. We have a Decentraland SDK with many sample scenes of the things that you can build. And the things that the creators build with it. There was a rapid pace in which we can see new content developed by the community. which was really, really amazing. Then we have the first Metaverse Festival. I think that was an epic event that bring many known artists and also joining with the community as well. I think was one of the first points in which we can prove that we can do an amazing experience in Decentraland. Different artists from Paris Hilton to Deadmau5 and Rack and many others. Alice in Wonderland. And this is a short footage from Deadmau5 stage. Then other event, the Metaverse Fashion Week also make a big noise in Decentraland and the media as well. We find that fashion and the Metaverse were a good match. The wearables had a really good fit, and we had also amazing experiences live there. And I think the combination between being able to create an amazing stage, having the ability to create your own wearables and publish them, and also a big community to join and enjoy with. And we start seeing communities popping up all around the world, communities from Japan, Brazil, Argentina, the US. I think that's the really core of Decentraland is the people that live here. Something that many, what I heard is that Decentraland has the most welcoming community out there. When they go to another platforms and metaverses, they say like, okay, this looks nice, this is interesting, but where are everybody? And in Decentraland, they find a community that welcomes them, that are willing to explain the process, the project. If you jump into a Discord, there are so many Discords that can help you out. Some are more about building content, other about onboarding users, other about discussing the governance. I think these many phases of Decentraland is what make us unique. Other important event is the Metaverse Pride, that also became kind of a tradition to celebrate in Decentraland. Then Art Week, also I think a really good fit for Decentraland to be able to have your own gallery and to show the creativity of different creators. This is a tradition we have been doing every year since 2021. And I think this is one of the tipping points of also Decentraland is the pandemic. I think we were ready for the biggest storm in the past years. When the pandemic hits in many countries, there was a lockdown that lasted for a long, long time. In Argentina, we were in lockdown for, I don't know, a year and a half, like maybe 6 months that you cannot get out of your to the street. During that period, the president get to the TV show, to the TV saying like, this is only last for 2 weeks. And 2 weeks later, will be 2 weeks more. And then like 6 months of that. Crazy nonsense. Yeah, and I think in that point, we have people all around the world that have free time. They cannot get out of home, and they were looking to connect with other people. And I think that's the perfect combination to jump online and see Decentraland or other platforms to look for that social connection. And I think that Decentraland shined during that critical period in humanity. And I think this was a nice event in which probably many of you participated, collecting donations for these critical times. Fun fact, at that time, 34 ETH was worth $5,000. And I think with this hype also, we start getting a lot of attention from brands, businesses, big brands all around the world start looking Decentraland and the Metaverse as a new space they want to checkout and experience. It's an exploration for them, maybe used to traditional media, offline marketing, and maybe doing social media. Exploring and building a 3D interactive experience was something new to them and for us as well on how to deal with these brands. But we have many, many cases. Coca-Cola was one of the first that I think is worth mentioning. They did an auction of a loot box that contained many assets. Some of them were like a Decentraland wearable, animation, video, and also like a physical fridge, Coca-Cola branded, that they will deliver it to your house. I think that for collectors online, that this was huge. And we can also mention other artists and brands like Dolce & Gabbana, Forever 21, Nickelodeon, Netflix, Heineken, Samsung, JP Morgan, and many more. I think something that we can mention about what these brands are looking for or what they were surprised when they see an experience in Decentraland is the engagement time they find. If you compare it with social media, you can get maybe a few seconds of attention on a reel, on an Instagram, but with an immersive experience, you can get like 30 minutes of attention or more, and that's totally new for this kind of brands. So I think that was one of the biggest learnings. And well, probably I'm going fast in this part because probably you already know it. The talk is about the early beginnings of Decentraland, the foundational story. And now I believe we are starting a new chapter. Decentraland has many, many chapters, and this is a new one. I rejoined Decentraland, at least Decentraland Foundation last year, and we embarked in a big mission of bringing a new iteration of how Decentraland should look like and feel, and you are all going to learn about it later today. I don't want to step ahead. But I think the core of this presentation is to thank everyone who participated in this project. It's because of the little contributions that all of us made that Decentraland can be here now. Thank you to Esteban, thanks to Ari, thanks to Manu, all the Voltaire crew that contributed during these talks that took 2 weeks off to make a prototype, no strings attached, to know the YouTube streamer that decided to pick up the project and put a YouTube video there, to the 100 people who joined the Slack saying, this is amazing, you should pursue this idea, to the community members that participated in the creation of the Genesis City, the early testing of Decentraland Explorer, and all you community members that created your own communities, participating on those, onboarding new users, created content in the platform. I think this part of the summit is to thank you so much. And now, to continue with this story and to present about the Decentraland ecosystem, the DAO, and the organized community we have, I want to introduce Gino.
I want to see tears in the audience. Come on, get emotional. This has been like super heartful. Okay, clicker, great. Awesome, cool. Well, thanks everyone. I'm Gino. I am one of the contributors of one of the core units of the DAO, the governance squad. I've been involved in the project for 2.5 years, and I would like first to thank the foundation for organizing this summit and for inviting us, and also to the DAO and the community to sponsor this event. It's been really amazing, and it was like a joint effort, so it's super, super cool. When I got invited, and I started like thinking about why the summit now? Why the summit 4 years after the public launch? Like, why are we still here as a community, right? Why are we still here after all this painful but magnificent shit that passed in the past like 3 or 4 years, right? Why are we still here after the fall of the metaverse hype? Oh God, that was the. Why are we still here after the mana price going bonkers and plummeting again? Why are we still here after the NFT summer and the NFT winter and the NFT hate and the NFT what the fuck? We are here because, and at least this is my opinion, the metaverse, it is a contested territory, right? We're still here because the metaverse is a territory in dispute. And this has been a territory in dispute for ages. I don't think I have to remind a lot of people here in the audience how Vitalik started thinking about Ethereum, right? It had to do with virtual worlds. Because the metaverse, it is a game, it's not a game in reality. When Blizzard changed the rules of the game of World of Warcraft, I started thinking, why am I spending so much time in this? Why am I spending money on something that I cannot control, right? And that was the tipping point or the kickstart of thinking about Ethereum, thinking about decentralized networks, and thinking about DVM. So we're still here because we are honoring our founding myth. We are here because these guys kept building after the hype, right? These guys that don't care about the bear, the bull, wherever, they just like dropped something. Maybe they didn't profit on money yet, but they profited on other things, like more symbolic things. They kickstarted the conversation, right? They probably adjusted expectations, but they kept shipping. And back, I don't know what's going on. Okay. And it's been hard even for them, right? I haven't had the chance to test the Apple Vision Pro, but I know it's pretty tough on the experience. So this is hard. They're trying. We're also trying. But we're here because our goal is way bigger than building an amazing social network, building a great community, building an amazing client and Web3 game or Web3 game-like experience. Our goal is to create a protocol. Our goal is to create a protocol in an open and decentralized way that will power up the new generation of spatial computing of the future or the present. And this is what Decentraland as a concept, as Yemel was talking earlier, is about, right? It's about prototyping, it's about testing, it's about going uncharted territories. And it is not easy because there is no recipe. We are doing it for the first time, and this summit is a historical moment to have the hard conversations and renew the compromise on the things that we're building and start crafting the path to the future that we're going to go. During the next few days, you will see and you will hear amazing things from the teams building inside the Decentraland Foundation. And I know that we're all here because we want to see the new client. Of course, we are all trying. I mean, I know that I'm annoying you. The important things come later. But I would like to take a few minutes to showcase what the DAO has been doing and to talk a little bit the structure of the DAO, because a lot of you probably are involved in governance decisions, are involved in the DAO, and some of you, maybe they're creators or people hanging out in the metaverse, and that's great, and maybe you don't know about this. So I would like to take a few minutes on. Okay, so you've been hearing a lot about the Decentraland Foundation and the Decentraland DAO, basically how this works. There are two separate entities, right? The two entities add value to each other. The Decentraland Foundation is a more traditional organization that has a legal entity and that holds the IP rights and holds the trademark of the Decentraland brand. It also holds the web domains. it has a responsibility to the community, but also as a project to build a reference client that we all use to navigate the Decentraland protocol. It's funded via a vesting contract, the exact same vesting contract that the DAO has. And the DAO is like the gatekeeper, or the dungeon master of the core value of Decentraland, right? The smart contracts that power up the project, the land, wearables, and so on and so forth. It also tries to, in a decentralized way, to curate the content and the wearables and the things that people create in the world. And it has a responsibility of develop the ecosystem via the grants programs, the bidding and tendering, and all the things that the money of the DAO treasury is for. So, as you might know, because some of you are part of the DAO in a day-to-day basis, it is pretty hard to run an organization that it's autonomous and it's pretty much loose, right? So we built this team structure where there are autonomous teams that are interconnected, self-funded, they're accountable to the community, they work towards like maybe different goals, but that have a vision on where are we going. They are spinned and they are deprecated as needed, right? This is something important, like if the community needs, wherever, a core unit, or the community needs a committee, they can either fund it via grant, or reject that grant, or they can hire a committee or fire a committee via governance proposal. So that's pretty interesting. And now I would also like to talk a little bit where we are, right? I was thinking that I was going to use the concept state of the union. But I think if I say state of the union, someone on Discord will say that I'm trying to centralize the DAO and becoming a president or whatever. So I won't say that, right? No, please, no. But I would like to talk a little bit about this. So the DAO in the last 4 years handed over $40 million for grants. The treasury size right now is around $22.1 million with $10.6 million available on the vesting contract to be released. More than 224 projects have been funded. Well, the vesting contract is at 42% on its vesting status. So there is a lot of like money available, but we're all kind of halfway there. The amount of proposals that were created in the last years, it's over 2,000. And the medium votes per proposal currently is around 56. The circulating VP in the DAO, so basically the assets of the project that are being currently used to vote on the DAO, is around 52 million VP. And 36% of that VP is delegated VP, even after the undelegation of someone. Now, I would like to talk a little bit of the last year's highlights, because DAOs are about human processes. The technology enables some of those human processes, right? And we always tend to go to the most autonomous state possible, but there are a lot of coordination, there's a lot of discussion, and there are a lot of like guardrails and I wouldn't say rules, but processes that we need to set up to make this happen and to make actual progress towards this shared goal. I would like to start with this one, because in my opinion, was like the big improvement the community and the facilitation squad did like in the DAO strategy in the last year. Is this concept of working groups that are basically functional but non-permanent group of people focused on discussing some particular topics, right, and deliver solutions in the form of proposals, in the form of requests for comment documents, or things like that. The three biggest ones, or the three most impactful ones, were the VP distribution, the financial, and the strategic planning working groups. And I would say it was like pretty cool, because from this mechanism, a lot of the initiatives that I'll be talking about in this presentation were kick-started. So they have been proven as a useful way of making decisions, or making informed decisions. So here's here's a flow of how they work. I won't go into details. If you want to read more about this, we are using like a freestyle version of the Delphi method, which is structured communications method for consensus building that was created during the Cold War in the United States. It's pretty cool. Another thing that we kickstarted is, and it was kickstarted as a working group, was a code of ethics, right? Sometimes in autonomous and decentralized organizations, there are confusions on like who should set the rules, or if should be rules or not. The reality is that communities needs to be welcoming, and sometimes you need some kind of guidelines to make the conversation move forward and be kind and be respectful and all of that. That is why, via an open discussion, the community crafted this code of ethics that had also the help from Foundation. Kim was involved as well. And this takes the whole Decentraland ecosystem into account. It's not only like the forum or the Discord, but it's also in-world interactions and things like that. For those of you who are on the Discord, and for those of you who are in the forum and the discussions, you know that it's been pretty hard to enforce this code of ethics. It is hard because moderation of online communities, it is hard because anonymity is hard, because the paradigm of weak identities in like crypto is also hard for implement these kind of things. But the community, I think, is doing some progress towards this. Right now, there's like an election for a moderations team, so we'll see how it goes. But it's cool to have something. It's cool to have a reference where like the well behavior is defined. Great. Well, this one is pretty cool. It's the Ambassadors Program. So Kane, here somewhere. She led the effort. Yeah, a huge shout out to her. Kim as well on the foundation side. So running an Ambassadors Program, running like wherever, a developer relationships program or things like that, it is hard. Doing it this way is way harder. So it was great. We had 10 events over 7 countries and 9 more events to come in the next following weeks. Some of the ambassadors are here, so thank you for running the events. It was really cool. I think this is how we should do it in terms of like the real outcomes. We got a lot of learnings from the experience, and probably the program will change in the next iterations. I think everyone agrees that we need to do more of this. In any way, but more of this, especially the paella that was there. So yeah, that was really, really cool. And basically, all the things that we've been showing are, I mean, they need money to be run. And the community last year approved a process that it was like a smarter way to get money from the DAO treasury, right? It's the being and tendering process. It's a process that takes inspiration for the like traditional governments in terms of like public licitations. It is a process that separates the what from the who, because previously on the grants program, one of the issues that we were seeing is that sometimes the community voted for projects that are really great ideas, like really cool ideas, but maybe the team behind those ideas wasn't the best one to execute, wasn't the most suited to execute. And maybe the idea was great, the money was there, but the project failed on the execution level because maybe someone can have a great idea, but it's not like able to execute on them, right? So this was kickstarted via a governance proposal, and there was a broad community discussion. We had some successful being and tendering already. This one is a video created by Cheddar Queso this week, about the first bid project. And this is a great example of how the being and tendering process works. The community expressed their discontent, let's say, or the need of, hey, we want to interact with the DAO in world. I mean, we're Decentraland. It's great that we have like a DApp, but we need to have something in world. We want to vote in world. We want to see things there in world. Put up a pitch proposal that got approved. Then someone refined that pitch proposal into a tender proposal, stating like all the details that the DAO headquarters or the DAO experience should have in world. And finally, there was an open competition in the DAO because teams proposed budgets and execution plans. Actually, DAppCraft won, and they are the ones building this experience. So we will have the in-world experience for the DAO in a few weeks, I think, in a few months, in a few weeks. Awesome. This one is also pretty cool, and it's pretty aligned with the ethos of Decentraland. It sounds weird, but until this governance proposal passed, only the platform grants, like the code created by the platform category grants, was the only one that was needed to publish their code in an open source way. And it's weird because the value of the treasury comes from an open source project, and sometimes teams funding their projects with the DAO money wasn't publishing the code or the content via open source license. So it's like not being compliant with this requirement could end up on the project's vesting contract revocation. And this is how it works, right? This is how like the infinite garden concept works. Like we are creating things that can create other things. And that's the beauty, and that's the nature of the project. This one is one of my favorite ones, right? I think I said the word protocol 100 times. Sorry about that. But a protocol needs to be consumed somehow, right? That's what differentiates us from a platform that gives you all like package into one thing, and you can do something with that. And we have the amazing reference client and the new reference client that is way better, but we needed something else. And in the last 2 years, attempts to build like alternative clients surfaced. Some of them were good enough, some of them failed, but we needed something else, right? So the protocol squad that was created to start thinking about the document protocol and how the protocol could be improved to make these things a reality, decided to go ahead and to start building a new client. This is a client based on, well, there are two flavors, on Berry and on Godot. It works native on iOS and on Android, and they're working on a VR implementation of this. So this is really cool. If you haven't seen them, check them out. They're really, really nice. Part of the team behind the mobile client, due to like their expertise and the interactions that they had with the SDK 7 and trying to build and trying to have conversations with the foundation engineering teams, after a bidding and tendering process, were selected to be the SDK support team at the technical liaison team for the DAO and community developers. This is a work that basically was doing Nico Earnshaw amazingly over the last few years, like talking with everyone and trying to help everyone with the implementations. But the community, was seeing a bottleneck when the migration to SDK 7 started to be mandatory to have scenes available for the new client. So the community decided to put up this bidding and tender proposal with the idea of helping out content creators that might not have experience in the SDK 7, or maybe they don't have time, or maybe they are not as active anymore, to get support from the SDK team to migrate their scenes from older SDKs to SDK 7. So this is something that was recently approved, and the team is going to be working, helping out community members on this like in the next few months. I'm getting to the end. This is something that also improved, and this is something that also came from one of the working groups, the strategic working groups. The interactions between the DAO and the foundation like greatly improved, especially in terms of the structure in the last few months. So we saw some process spin up, like the all hands that Nico Rasco has been leading, and the efforts of talking with the community, like in a structured way, in an open conversation with all of them. It's pretty hard sometimes. So it was great to have him and also Fez leading that from the facilitation squad on the DAO. There was a process of 10 requests for informations, which is basically a structured way to ask questions to the foundation. 6 all hands were held. That was also pretty good. And we finally implemented Kani as like the source of truth for product feedback in the product development life cycle of the foundation and the DAO. And actually, I don't know how many of them, but a lot of the pieces of feedback that the community put in Kani ended up in the roadmap and ended up being executed. So that's something that the community was asking for, and we started to see that happening because of these kind of interactions. And finally, I would like to talk a little bit about this initiative that we're trying to push. And I want to be super clear with this. This is something that is currently being discussed by the community. Nothing is fixed. There's a request for comments open regarding this. So the idea is to start thinking a new way, a new mechanism for take decisions in the DAO. As you know, currently, the only way to take decisions is with the voting power. That is a token-weighted system. Basically, you have more voting power depending on the assets that you have in the project. And the reality is that there are things like reputation, like behavior, like I don't know-how and having context in the project that are also important, right? That are also relevant. The DAO treasury is pretty sizable, so it sometimes became a honeypot for people trying to steal money with having voting power and trying to pass proposals, and we've seen that happening in the DAO. So a new mechanism or a better mechanism is needed. It is hard, of course, because changing the rules of the game, it's always hard because the rules of the game set how you can change them. So this is currently being discussed. I would say this is one of the most important things that are happening right now in the DAO, and it's super controversial. So I would suggest everyone to take a look, to read this document. If you have any questions, if you have ideas, it would be awesome to hear your thoughts on the Discord or on the forum or wherever you want. And finally, to be honest, I had a slide on the future of the DAO or how I was seeing the future of the DAO. And I deleted. Yesterday, I decided to delete it because I'm no one to say how the future of the DAO should be. That's up to the community. And the call to action for all of you is, first of all, for those of you who are in the summit, Ile is going to be facilitating or running a workshop regarding rapid iteration of governance decisions. So join if you can. Reach out to any of the core units or any of the committee members that are here if you have questions, if you have doubts, or if you have concerns. And finally, use your power, create proposals, vote, and engage on the DAO, because this is also what makes us different. Thanks so much.